Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Marriott's on the move.
What?
Marriott's on the move.
Again?
Marriott's on the move.
If you're dreaming about moving to a new city to pursue the life of your dreams, this podcast is for you. Moving 18 times in 23 years to 5 of America's top cities, I know it's not easy to make those decisions alone. I help you develop the dream, the plan, and the move, even if we need to get scrappy to get you there. I'll be doing interviews, career and city spotlights, and sharing my crazy moving stories, tips, tricks, and scams to avoid. Traveling to explore your dreams has never been easier. Now let's get moving. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am super excited to be here, and I'm bringing my new friend, Rose Pridgeon, with me. Rose lives in Dallas, and she has 2 kids and a big dog, and you know we love dogs around here. She also shares my love of lattes. I'm not a runner anymore, but she is a runner, and she's just personally energizing the world around her. So I am very excited to have her. She's doing a ton of things, multi-passionate like me. So she has found her voice through storytelling. Her and I met in a like a public speaking workshop group that we're both in. So it's going to be great to hear us both like kind of doing our thing here. But in real life, like in her day-to-day job, she is an executive assistant for a global consulting firm, but she's also the president of their women's group. And a lot of people that listen to this work at the same company I do. I'm also in our women's group, so we have a little bit of a connection there. She's also a home organizer. So me being a professional organizer as well, like we have a lot to talk about today. So Rose, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
I am excited to be here, and you make me sound a lot less complicated than I think I am. So this is wonderful. I'm very happy to chat.
Well, we do have a lot to talk about today because, one, you have faced a lot of adversity in your life, and I want to get into that story. You were doing a keynote called Your New Favorite F Words, which the F word in general is probably my favorite. So 3 new ones is very exciting. I think it's a little different than what people might think. But I also know that you're moving soon. You're just doing a lot of things. So to take a step back, you grew up in New York, but you live in Dallas, right?
Yes,
so how did you get to Dallas?
So cool. So to start it off, my favorite part of the story is my parents were both married 3 times. So There was just chaos always, right? And we've experienced a lot of healing. I think that the Lord has been sweet to me with my parents, right? And seeing where they are now. But naturally, as you're moving and shaking, going to different schools, I went to 4 public schools growing up just through my primary years, going to college, right? I transferred twice. So I never understood that groundedness, which is why running spoke to me. And I would say running has saved my life many a times. But yeah, we were in Buffalo. So Buffalo, New York, there's 8 feet of snow on any random Tuesday. Also, I'm not a huge Bills fan, so I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, right? Like when you're moving around a lot and there's also trauma and yuck and things like that, and you're constantly the new kid, but you actually don't have a lot of like fun stuff to share or show for it. I just found that I mentioned earlier, I kind of the heart of a runaway, right? Like I could do the work. I put in the work on the track. Naturally, I was fun and silly, right? Like girls can be when you're growing up, but I didn't know my worth and I was very confused. So all that to say is moving to Dallas, that didn't happen until after I went to Oklahoma for school. And it was just throwing a dart at a map. So
I love this story. And that was one of the things that connected me to your story is because you literally moved 1,500 miles away from home to pursue a collegiate, like athletic career. I know I did something similar because I went to Southern Illinois University to become a cheerleader,
Mhm.
and I could not get out of Chicago fast enough. Like I was so excited for my adventure. I was so excited to like do my thing, which cheerleading
Right.
was definitely my thing. So for you to go that far away, I mean, mine was like it was a 6 hour, 5.5 hour drive, right?
Mhm.
Depending on how fast you drive. I drive like a grandma, but like that is far,
Mhm.
Oklahoma. So
Mhm.
from where you grew up. So like were you excited? Did you feel
Mhm.
like you had to like pull up your bootstraps and be courageous? Like what was
Mhm.
that like? And then when you got there, what was that like?
Sure. It's so interesting because it was my mom and I driving on the way down, right? And she
Yeah.
didn't quite lead me in that decision because, again, this was really revolved around where's the money coming from for track?
Mhm.
Where am I going to get far enough away from this place? So I, being 17, had nothing to stand on. And I was like, this sounds good. It has some shock factor. No one expected it. I had family in Charleston. I looked at going to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I explored being in Florida, and then I was like, Oklahoma City, let's do it. So it's just there's no rhyme or reason. I mean that
Right.
full heartedly. But then that I think is my first taste of the South or the Midwest. So it made coming to Texas so much easier and accessible. But going to Oklahoma, the city itself is the size of the apartment complex I live in right now. So it didn't have
Right.
much to offer. I didn't feel cultured. I was around a bunch of rich private school kids, which is not that's not where I come from.
Right.
So it was this big culture shock. And then I still, with that performance mindset, I feel like I had so much to prove. So I was the loudest one in the group. I wanted to be the fastest, which really didn't happen. My heart wasn't there. I didn't have accountability. So I would just say I had to learn the hard way. And I only made it a year. And then I was
Okay.
back in Buffalo. And that's when it was just, I felt that was my rock bottom because I went back to where I was trying to escape. So just to keep
Mm,
that simple, I went right back to where I shouldn't have gone, only to push me back across the country.
yeah. So when you were making the decision to leave and go back home,
Mhm.
what was going through your head?
I will say that I was very confused, anyways. So, my experience was I went and did college where I was partying, and there was lots of frats, there's lots of sororities, even though it was a small, intimate campus, it was private, but still not feeling like I belonged. I think I've only ever really had like four really great girlfriends, right? And thankfully, that's been consistent since I was 13, right? So those are really the only friends that I've known. And so to get into this place where now, like, you're really performing, you're really showing up, like there's a
Yeah.
degree on the line, there's money for scholarships on the line. I just felt, okay, let's retreat, I think is what it really was. I was waving a white flag without knowing it. And just went back to Buffalo. I played around a little bit with another major. I just found myself just being like, what, just disappointed, just to make it easy. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I can complicate this. I was very disappointed. And so once I really woke up, got my own apartment. So it was when I actually moved into my 500 square foot apartment. That's when I started to feel like the fruit of my labor. I was then hired at 22 to manage a Hilton hotel while I was doing 18 credit hours. And I'm like, I can do this. Like
Yeah.
now I can show up for myself without pretending to care about books, running, like I love those things, but
Yeah.
it's not, it just didn't do it for me, just to
It
make it
didn't feel
easy.
authentic.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing too. I mean, a lot of what I coach around is, visiting a city first, spending a week or longer there if you can, figuring out like if you fit in, what the day-to-day life is like. But I think when you're
Mhm.
going to college, like you don't care. You're just like, okay, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Oh,
Uh,
true.
it was probably an expensive mistake unless you were there on scholarships, but you don't really have that sense of like, oh, I could place roots here because it's temporary. I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
I was on I was on the podcast with a woman named Holly Savitt, and she had traveled overseas, and then she ended up staying for like a
Mhm.
year. And the whole time we were talking, she's like, "Listen, you can go home whenever you want. Like you can always leave. And like, I think people sometimes forget that. So it was probably more of a courageous decision for you to leave and go home than it was for you to be like, I'm going to try college in Oklahoma. Let's go, you know, because it was like YOLO, like, you know, 100%. I'll make it work. Yeah.
I would say from there. So my aunt, we call her Care Bear. She has always been my saving grace. And that is one woman I owe everything to. Well, her kids, I just call them my brother and sister. Her daughter is 16 looking at colleges, right? And because I got it so wrong, the conversation is so different. And my Care Bear did not go to college. So even though she's the greatest cheerleader I've ever met in my life, there may be a bridge where thankfully a gap that I can bridge, right? So I know my lovely Emma loves her Starbucks. You should probably make sure there's a Starbucks nearby. She cannot go a week without stopping at Target 3 times. Emma, is there a Target by your campus? It is not because that is what makes the decision, but when you're depressed, when you're homesick, when you just need a little taste of home, if you can go get Starbucks and remember how you used to do that with mom, dad, and Rosie all the time, there is just a little bit of peace that comes with that. And Emma's lived in the same house all of her life, not me. So Emma needs that type of familiarity, right? If that's a word. I don't know what I just said. Any hoozle. Yeah. So that routine is so important to her, which is why for me, I was like, let's just go. And it's different, right? It's different for everybody, but that's where I find the test in my testimony and how colorful it is. Nothing is off limits for me. And these conversations are so much easier because I can be like, well, I remember when I was starving, didn't have a job, and my phone was turned off when I was 18. I just had to be scrappy and resourceful, right? But she won't have that because I can kind of provide insight.
Right. So as you're like going through and kind of just like your background and your history and kind of like what you came up through, were you always an independent child, or was it more like you kind of got scrappy and learned how to figure it out on your own?
I love this because when you had sent me this question, I was like, well, of course, I would naturally have to be independent when you're just moving, different places. You have a single mom because, of course, when you're going through divorce, you're single at some point. So my mom worked 3 jobs and I didn't know what to do. I have a brother, right? So we didn't really know what we were doing, but this was the time when we could get lost outside. We would just be outside. And I always felt somewhat of a caretaker. So despite, yes, I'm independent, I just naturally had this mothering, nurturing gift. And I kind of always romanticized life, which is weird. And I think that's through when I found my love of reading, right? If my mom's working day in and day out, my brother and I used to go to the town pool and then we'd be at the library and I would get lost in books because it's separate from abuse, trauma, loud noises, packing up boxes and running out of the house, all the yucky stuff, right? So I found retreat and peace in books. And then, you just have to make decisions throughout your day if your mom's gone. So yes, independent, but then I grew codependent as I grew up because I didn't want to be home. So I'm like, I need to hang out with older kids to drive me places. My mom didn't have a tremendous amount of money, so my best friends would cover my back, right? So as independent as I wanted to be, naturally, you can't do it alone. You can't do anything alone. So I had to find people to love, trust, and, just really, live out my faith and just that the Lord would provide each step of the way.
I think that's hard as an adult because, it's not necessarily that we don't want to ask for help. Sometimes we don't know what to ask for,
I couldn't agree more.
Even just having like somebody, like you're moving in a month, right? I've done it 18 times in the last 24 years and, 5 times has been across the country. But so like, even just to like offer up, like when you get to that place where you're so stressed and you want to like punch something, like text me, call me. Like I can be your moving buddy and say, okay, let's take a deep breath. Did you see this meme? And like reframe, redirect, because we often don't do that. And they literally say moving is the most stressful event, second only to divorce, right? Like That's insane. You know, and think about it, like people move 11 times on average in a lifetime. They say 11.7. I don't know what constitutes as a 0.7, but if you know, then let me let me know.
Wow.
But I mean, that's the thing, is like asking for help and finding that kind of buddy to say like, oh my gosh, have you moved in the last couple of years? Like this is where I'm at. Like I don't want to fold another box. I don't want to tape another box. I don't want to organize another pantry or like declutter one more thing. So just know that I'm here for you in your move. But that's
so
exciting that you're moving.
Have you heard of Monat or Modern Nature? I hadn't either before my friend Monica was raving about their skincare products that she's obsessed with. I took their hair quiz to find out which product line would be best for me, since I just happen to be looking for new shampoo and conditioner, and I signed up for their VIP package that got me a little bit of everything to try out. Turns out they are the first anti-aging hair care line in the world, which I didn't even know was a thing, and their products are gluten-free, vegan, and Leaping Bunny certified, which means they're never tested on animals. Now I'm obsessed with their rich formulations that feature botanical extracts, essential oils, and other naturally based ingredients, and I want to share those products with you. I'll put the link in the show notes, or you can hit the faves page on my website. It's safe, EU approved, and clinically tested by third parties, so essentially, robustness approved. Now back to the show.
Boom. Play it.
Have you ever listened to a commercial on the radio or a podcast and thought, I could totally do that? Well, I am challenging you today. Being a voiceover artist is an amazing side hustle that can be done from the comforts of your own home. Heck, it can be an amazing career. Just ask Jesse Carroll. Jesse's got over 1,000 voiceover credits to his name. Ever watch Backroad Truckers? He's the narrator. He's also done a ton of commercials for brands you would definitely recognize. If you're ready to try your hand at voiceovers, go to marriottsonthemove.com and head to my favorites page to learn more about his new digital course and coaching package. If you use code MOTM, you'll get 20% off at checkout.
Hey, Micah Burgess here. I just wanted to drop in for a second and let you guys know that we are rebranding my podcast. We've got a new name, My Doula Micah, my birth, my baby, my life. And we are super excited about extending the content that we've got going from childbirth to postpartum. Now we're including family and marriage and just kind of your life in these childbearing years and what that looks like, and maybe give some helpful tips and wisdom. I mean, you know, I'm 51. I got 6 kids. I think I can help you guys with some stuff. There will still be local interviews, of course. And I'm also expanding now to have including more nationwide interviews. We even have somebody from Canada and Australia. So I'm super excited about this process and what we've got in store for y'all. So join us.
I think I have it down to a science, and that's where it can be hard to talk about, right? Like moving, that's my jam because I've lived with my essentials. I'm not a minimalist, but I will throw anything out, right? Like I know what I'm not attached to. I know I try to be thoughtful. I'm a thrifter. I love thrifting. I try to be thoughtful in my purchases. I'm not rolling in dough, right? So it's not like I have huge assets. I don't have 600-pound bed frames I'm trying to move, right? So like the silly things that maybe a married couple with 5 kids would experience, my move is much more small, right? Like we know what we're doing. So, and I do have community to help. That's what's really sweet. But I mean, I'm strategic. I gave myself a month to move, right? So I have both apartments and there's a month overlap. I'll be unpacked in 12 hours, but just in case. I was like, why not just do it that way? So
you're also an organizer though, so you might be unpacked in 12 hours. The place it's going to be like 14 until your things are organized in the house.
So funny. I mean, I start packing about 4 months in advance. It sounds wild, but silly things, right? Like things that I know we won't need. I can thrift totes for $2, so I'm not having to search for cardboard boxes. I've just tried to be more strategic, and I can do that with clarity I've found from, moving at my own pace and not being in those really colorful, hurtful situations growing up. There's freedom here now.
Yeah. So can you talk and go as deep as you're comfortable? You don't have to get into too much if you don't want to, but like you have overcome a lot as far as your background goes and your growing up and things like that. So how has like the trauma that you experienced as a child, how has that impacted you as an adult?
Mm-hmm.
And like how you do your day to day?
Right. I've seen a tremendous amount that people shouldn't see, right? And that's relative. And I'm not saying Rose, like this is little Rose, right?
Yeah.
Some of my first memories are violent. And so I grew up with violence and then a lot of scarcity mindset. So you even heard me, I'm a minimalist. Yeah, because I never knew abundance, right? We used to eat Reese Pieces and sunflower seeds for dinner. Like that's some of it,
is
right?
Delicious and is probably awesome as a kid, but like as an adult mom, like that's not probably
There's the food pyramid now, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say that because I've always had to move and shake, right? We're looking at about 30 moves in my lifetime already at age 31. I don't know closure, and that is difficult. So for me, when it comes time, and I would say in the past, I'm dating a wonderful man now, and it drives me nuts how confident and peaceful and calm he is, right? Like that's not what I'm used to. I'm high energy. But I don't know how to accept that sometimes, right? And so naturally I want to push him away. And that's happened. We've experienced a lot of peace and forgiveness there. But even before that, dating, in my marriage, I just found that when it came to like, hey, you hurt my feelings, or maybe it was like a big fight. When do we actually shut this down? Right? Because there would be growing up, we just find out about a divorce on Saturday, we're moving the next day, right? Like there's no saying goodbye. I don't know what bedspread I'm going to have next week. So closure is hard for me. And then separately, I never knew what the heck I was worth. It's cool that I can go win races, and it's really great that my mom would come and that was our one-on-one quality time, right? But I felt like I would get her attention separate from her husband because blending families is not easy. I've been through physical abuse. The mental and emotional, in my opinion, far outweighed anything I experienced. And so I also didn't have a belief that I could be a stepmom one day or I could be in a healthy marriage. And so I would say that it's just been messy. It's been really messy. I've hurt a lot of people. I've hurt myself. There's been a lot of uncertainty, even with money. Nobody taught me about money. We were just always poor. It was wild.
How was that not like a class that you had to take every single year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I look at, and not to go off on a tangent, but I look at like what we were being taught in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while history is fantastic, and while like you need math to survive and balance a checkbook, which nobody really does anymore, but like life skills, like teaching us to cook, teaching us to like, manage our money and not get overwhelmed with debt, like all of those things that as an adult, you start feeling all this shame. But like, I would never tell like my 4-year-old cousin to go cook me a steak because she doesn't know how, like somebody had to teach me how to cook a steak, which I don't know that I cook it that great and still to this day. But like, yeah, you have to learn. And then we all of a sudden feel this shame that we don't know what to do. Like that's why finance is part of my framework, because it took me a long time to figure out like one, I knew moving was expensive, but two, like how to manage that day to day in order to get to a point where you could save money. Like, that's a big part of adulting.
Yes. What I can speak on for that is I found healing in my financial journey when I went through my divorce. I know that this isn't quite the focus, but in my keynote, I talk about favor and fruit, right? So when it comes to the fruit, the things that you want to see, right? The actual harvest that we are all so hungry for. Yeah. I had the fast Audi, the really nice big truck. I had what I thought was a hot, sexy husband, right? I was pregnant because I went into marriage and we had a baby, and then we got a sports car. And then I went through a divorce. I didn't have anything. I had to claim bankruptcy. My Audi, my dream car, I gave that up because a $900 payment doesn't make sense for a single mom, right? But I was also letting my husband lead. And mind you, he was great and had his own trauma, right? Like he could be a good man, but not a good husband for me, for Rose. And what I would say is I let him take the reins too much and we didn't have conversations. I wanted to do the debt snowball. Let's pay this down because zero sounds sexy. He goes, well, no, the interest rate on this. And he's a math guy. So that makes sense for him. That's a big miss. So then to retrain myself, I love money notebooks. I don't know where mine is, but a money binder, right? Because for me, I love being able to touch, smell, see money because it reminds me of abundance. I literally, you guys don't know where I live, but in my room, I have 4 different stack piles just to be surrounded by cash. I leave money in my car. Mind you, I have a little bit of debt. I do anticipate owning a home in the next few years, right? So bring on a mortgage payment. But just to know that it's there if I needed it offers so much security. And then my daughter does it. We have matching money binders. So
tell me about a money binder because I don't know what this concept is.
Pardon me.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, Rose is actually showing us what a money binder is.
Maybe I said money binder, but like cash envelopes. Maybe that registers for people. Yeah. So I get paid weekly. That's really sexy for Rose, right? Single mom. I do not get any child support, right? So these are things that I am the sole breadwinner. I am head of household, right? Like I'm the one. And so groceries, perfect. Gas, I'll put my money in there. So it's a system for me where each Friday I'm intentionally going to the bank. I'm getting paid. I love my money. I'm going to pull out what I know because I've learned through a few years of being a single person, 3 years we'll say, right? This isn't something that just happened overnight. I know that I'm going to take out, we do $85 for groceries, right? That's what we do as a family. It goes into my cash envelope. That says groceries. And so it's just a very systematic, like my designer purse I bought last year, there was an envelope for that. When we were going to go to Orlando, there was an envelope for that. So it is as idiot proof. And I say that with love and fluff, right? I mean, it's easy to explain to my kids. It's easy for me to just be like, wow, Rose, you're doing it. Look at all that money. And it's silly, but I need that. I need it.
That's what you find security in. And I think that value is, I think a lot of times people go into their life thinking like, I don't know what I want. And then they just reach for all these different things. And like, you've clearly done the work. Like you're healing and you're knowing what it takes for you to feel comfortable in your own skin and what it takes to be authentic. And for a lot of women, security is financial, right? There could be shame around it, but there could be abundance around it. And I think that looking at that from that perspective, who cares if you have stacks of bills around? Like, you know what I mean? Like that, if that makes you feel good in your home, in your skin, that's a value that you have to figure out before you go, because everywhere you go, there you are.
Yes.
You know?
Right? No, that's so good. Just to say this, because we haven't talked about Christmas yet, it is my favorite 6 months of the year. So there's that.
When you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, me too. My birthday's the day after Christmas. So I feel like I have to celebrate it extra because are you like one of those that puts it up early, or do you keep it up late, or is it like, are you stacked right in the middle? Because I'm a like, let's put it up in like early November and ride it out until like February.
I was a little, let me say, we had a trip planned to Buffalo. I drove. I love my long drives. And so I took the kids, and that was shortly after Christmas. So we did wrap things up early. But I start thinking about it in June because $20 away every single week. It's just something I naturally have to do. But it builds excitement for the kids. It builds it for me. Then I'm not killing myself because I will overspend in November and December naturally. So it just helps me, right? But Christmas for me, my Care Bear, that's her favorite, right? That's our love language. And so I found comfort there. And then my kids reap the benefits, right? So it through trial and error, thank you for saying that, right? But there are certain things that are just meant for you, right? Like in the hard times, when I don't know where I'm living, I still know I'm going to celebrate Christmas, right? Like through hard times, maybe this new apartment isn't my favorite, but I know what my food budget is. I know I'm going to be at Aldi's, right? There's little things for your audience where it just keeps popping up because it's supposed to, right? You can't ignore the signs, the wonders, the encouragement and affirmations that keep chasing you from Buffalo, New York to Japan to Hawaii to Texas. These things are meant to affirm you and give you comfort. And then it's up to us to be creative, right? I think everybody's a creative. I don't care who you are. So
I agree. And I think that like knowing what that is, or like when you feel like you're running from something, that's what you need to lean into. You know, like you probably ran from the money thing all the way up until bankruptcy when you were like forced to see
100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was my ignorance to student loan debt. Why I was 17 and signing for a $45,000 a year school, and I didn't even become a nurse or a track star. Like that's where, like, darn it, if only someone was there to say, hold the phone. But because we're smart individuals, we can see actually how that moved the ball forward somehow, some way through, a lot of introspection and writing and counseling and
paying that bill every month.
Yeah.
Well, but that's a great point though, too, because we oftentimes make decisions without really thinking the consequences through. You know, when you're in high school, you're like, yeah, 45 grand. I'm going to be making twice that when I get out of school.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you're like babysitting and you make, I don't even know how much babysitter, I don't have kids. So how much do babysitters make up?
$20 an hour, we'll say.
$20 an hour. Like, think about how many hours you have to babysit to pay for one credit, Yes. And that's the reality. My cousin, he went to a private Christian college, and I remember visiting him. He had graduated. He was living in Arizona. And I remember walking into their pantry, and I was like, what is that? And it was a huge, those like, it's like a thermometer, like with the goal, like the debt.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So they had been marking up, but his, and I won't say how much debt he had, because I don't know if he listens or not, but, but it was a house in most cities in America. His student loans were a house debt. And he was determined to pay them off. And every time I see him, I want to ask him if he's paid it off yet, but he was very, very, very determined. But I think that's the thing, is that we just like going to college and making those decisions without really thinking of the consequences, people move without thinking about the consequences because they just want to get out wherever they are, and they want to figure out, instead of like sitting in the yuck and like really legitimately saying like, okay, is this a me thing? Is this a house thing? Is this a city thing? Like, what is the thing right now that's making me feel this way? And then consulting a therapist and talking through it, or consulting a life coach, or like I often say, you need 3 people in your life. Like, you need a therapist, which is like an archaeologist that digs up the bones and like all that trauma that you experienced growing up about money. And then you need a life coach, which is like an architect that says, okay, we know where you came from. Now let's figure out where you want to go. And then you, as like the construction crew that has to build that life based on what you learned in the first 2, sessions. So, I know it's like a lot of the planning that we do is for anywhere from, I have somebody that I'm coaching that wants to move in 3 years. And I was like, okay, 3 years. That's a great goal. It gives you a lot of time, but she also has a lot of things that she needs to do before then.
Sure.
I'm looking to move probably in the fall. And so, it's only March as we're recording this, but it is going to come up quick because I feel like it's already March and I feel like we just had Christmas.
Right.
So,
well, for you did. I mean, is your tree still up?
Exactly.
It's interesting because I would say, and I will say this full-heartedly, I have $60,000 of student loan debt. It will take care of itself. I am fully confident. The reason I know I will be able to take care of that is because my bankruptcy, which was not sexy, but that's $80,000 that went away. Some people could say it's a cop-out. I saw it as the only way out, right? And then as I talked about that, I looked around and other people like, hey, but that happened to me. And I'm like, wait, what? So you're never going to find the light, the support, the community unless you talk about it. And I would say out of my divorce, my bankruptcy, I was managing the same restaurant for 3 years. I kind of looked around and I was like, I need to bring home the bacon. And I took a leap of faith. I'm in my global consulting firm. And then I look around and I'm like, it's the women. The women are here. The women are encouraging. They're pulling out the yuck and they're wanting to play with it. They're wanting to bring light to it. So anything that you do is not going to get done if you just sit there, right? And let me say this, it's the hardest thing because we're all adults. We can have two conflicting thoughts. You know, like in scripture for me, be still and know I'm your God. Cool. But yet I've moved nonstop all my life. So which one is it today, right? But if I'm going to hustle nonstop 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. to pay off my $900 a month Audi, I'm never going to know what I'm supposed to do. I set myself up to fail because I didn't give myself the time to be like, wait, what can I do? What does my life look like in 3 years? Like you ask your clients, right? So I'm rambling at this point, but I just think it's really important to just like, you got to talk about it, right? Even if it's embarrassing.
I mean, honestly, in school loans are not disposable in bankruptcy. A lot of people don't realize that. They think
Definitely
that
not.
everything is going to go away when they do that. But I think the bigger picture of it is that you are taking responsibility. You are making decisions now that are going to impact your future, maybe because in the past you weren't able to, right? You weren't given the tools to do it. Now you have the tools. And I think that that's a huge, like, oh my gosh, I'm like so happy for you because your past does not predict your future, right? And you are living proof that that is the case. So I think that's amazing.
That's kind of you. I mean, part of my story in my keynote, it's a lot of fun because I share, hey, I had the Audi, right? Like I did it. I made it. I was working in Highland Park in Dallas. Woo, right? Like we were just surrounded by millionaires. I was miserable. Apparently I was really broke. And now I drive a Prius that runs on sweet potatoes and I've never been happier. I've never loved an asset more in my life than my crappy Prius because it's mine, because no one can take it from me, and I worked to pay it off, right? So I think say it out loud, talk to your people, but bring the humor to it, right? Like I don't owe anybody anything. I can drive my crappy Prius and get everywhere I need to be on $20. We're good here, right? So I think, you know, I don't want to open up social media conversation, but sometimes I have to go, am I doing this for me or who am I trying to prove something to? Right. Yeah. So that's where I also have to be really diligent, right? Because I'm a hungry gal. I'm an ambitious cat, but sometimes I need to slow it down.
Yeah, I literally, one of my favorite questions to ask people when I'm doing coaching sessions, when they have all of these, like, not to say that they're unrealistic dreams, but they've got a lot going on. I'm like, okay, well, what are you trying to prove? And who are you trying to prove it to? Right. And like, sometimes I'll just say like, that's your homework. I want you to sit with that. And I want you to think like, okay, me like racking up the credit card debt and buying, you know, everything from every boutique on Instagram, which shows up, you know, 6 weeks later, straight from China. That's, you know, crap material and looks nothing like the pictures. Like in that moment, what did you want? Did you want to look polished? Did you want to, you know, feel good? Did you need a little kick of that like endorphin that says, you know, I'm going to be fine, when really like, you're not. Maybe you have something that looks just like that in your closet. Well, but moving forward, I want to talk about your keynote because first of all, your three favorite, what is it? Your new favorite F words? Like, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about your keynote.
I don't even know where to start because I'm very excited. I would say to offer context, because again, I'm a storyteller. There's no straight path. When I first moved to Dallas and I found myself, I was pregnant. My grandfather had just died. And again, I mean, I was only 23. I'm broke. I don't have family. And you had mentioned homesickness. Like this is my quick asterisk. It's not going to be the second you get there. It's on a random Thursday morning when you just need a freaking hug, right? Yeah. We had a family incident happen 2 weeks ago. And mind you, my dad he's great. I haven't seen him in 2 years. It was just, I needed him. You can't identify it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but homesickness, it'll sneak in and you never know when. So don't act like you know, right? There's no predicting. But moving forward is I was sick, stranded. I felt alone, right? And so I joined a recovery ministry for my anxiety, for my depression, my unforgiveness. And I just kept being like, I just want to tell my story. I just want to tell my story, right? Like, it's colorful. There's hurt, but somehow I can be silly with it. And somehow other people open up and then they find healing, right? And it's not that I'm like, listen to me now. It's just I have to get this off my chest, right? Yeah. So through so much healing, that was 5 years ago, I started to just coach others through our women's group at work. I started to coach them. As you host events with 300 guests, you're going to practice and you're going to know that you need to show up in a big way. And that excites me. So then I'm leading these large calls and I'm like, this is something I just do, right? And looking at the encouragement I receive, Rose, you're a natural, even though I practice, right? But you're a natural. You have a gift of encouragement. And I'm just looking around and eventually your head starts spinning. And that was my prayer. What the heck do I do? So as I mentioned earlier in this call, we drove to Buffalo. We're driving with my 2 kids. I love driving far. So we drove it over 2 days. The second we get into Buffalo, my brakes blow. There's no reason.
Oh, no.
My brakes are done, right? So we did a surprise visit. There's always like bells and whistles to our visits, but we were there to support my Care Bear. She had a fun year last year, just health stuff, getting results, working through it, right? And that's my lady, right? We needed to be there just to play, be merry, but she also didn't have a vehicle. So for the first time in a long time, I am stranded. She doesn't have a car. I don't have a car. There's snow outside. It's gray. And we're there for 3 weeks in a 4-bedroom home with 7 people. Makes no sense.
Wow.
I'm not that person. I'm not. And so in my mind, the Lord had to literally put me in a different state with 0 transportation to say, you need to slow it down and figure this out with me. And it wasn't pretty. It was beautiful. I would say brutal, right? Like it was beautiful. It hurt. And so I just started going like, oftentimes I was in the basement where I used to sleep on the couch, just throwing my fists, sobbing. What am I doing? Yelling the F word. I'm a colorful gal. I'm from New York, right? I'm recovering.
Right.
But I love my F word. And so like, like it's like you stubbed your toe. There's no rhyme or reason. You are just pissed. And it's just constantly like, what's the fruit here? Where are you finding your favor? Right? I didn't have to pay for a hotel. I didn't actually have to be anywhere. So me without a car, perfect.
Yeah.
My cousin is a mechanic. I'm a crier. Okay. So I'm just letting you know, like it might be coming.
Yeah, it's okay.
But
I'm the first time there have been tears on this podcast. Sometimes it's me though.
It's just I can't help it sometimes, right? It's just this overflow. But I'm just looking around, and years ago I would have been pissed, desperate. I would have been angry, right? But I knew to take it into the back, work through it with the Lord. But I was like, man, there's actually a lot here to uncover, right? I didn't limp into a harvest. Like I was there for a reason. It's for the family. This was only done because it was a numbers game, right? Like we were fed, we were healthy. My aunt was healthy. Like I just kept going, wow. And that just took my breath away. So driving there, driving back, don't do this at home, but was I writing notes down? Like it was just this outpouring of, this is your keynote. This is what it's supposed to be. And so it's kind of like a rags to riches, right? Like, I don't know, rose to redemption, like whatever we want to call it. Yeah. So it's that with a lot of humor, but you do get like the actual timeline of like, okay, I had trauma. Okay, what did I do with that? What am I doing with it now? And just the clarity I found, but those F words are kind of your framework, right? It's just that step by step. So I try to lead with some humor. I think that that's so important when you talk about trauma, and, it gives people like, oh, okay, we can laugh about this. Like, actually that 30-year-old fire that like really scares me. Okay, we can start to talk about it. So that's just my hope. It's just to encourage the women. I don't know. We're all experts in adversity. So I feel like, it's kindred spirits, right? Like we're all just doing it. I just have the words for it.
Yeah. Well, and you're in a place where you can say like, let's talk about this. Like, here's my mess, right? This became my message, but you're not alone. If you went through this, obviously we said earlier, your past doesn't predict your future. Let's talk about this. Let's get support. Let's figure out, like, if you can inspire one person in that audience to take action and to move forward with their life, like that makes it all worth it,
Definitely. No, that's so good. I feel that the recurring, like the two things that I would say that keeps me going is the bread is in your hands. Right? Every time I'm like, what do I do? And I'm just like, okay, I actually know what I'm supposed to do. I just have to think it through maybe clearly. I have to talk to somebody, but it's actually right in front of me. And I think that's really important. Every time I've ran my best times or whatever, I didn't get new legs. Nobody gave me new arms. It was me. I did that. Right? So I think that's really great. And then sometimes I'm just like, the victories in the comeback, right? Like for me, I tell myself, 40, I'm 31, 40 is going to be my best year yet. I don't know what it is. It's a very Matthew McConaughey thing to say.
Right.
But,
Green lights everywhere.
So I think that's just it for me, is just finding the humor. And then what are you telling yourself? Because I am an overthinker and I actually think it's my superpower.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people think enough, right?
That's fair.
Overthinking can be paralyzing, but it also can give you a good amount of data to like process. And I think that all of those points that you made, like it's all data, right? You're like, as you're going through day to day, like, am I spending too much money? Am I, focusing on the right things? Like what is the bright side of me being in New York without breaks? Like it forced you to slow down, which your body probably needed. And God was like, okay, she's not listening. Let's do this. Boom. Brakes go out.
So true.
Oh man, these allergies are killing me. I'll edit that out. Oh my gosh, I can't breathe.
Well, I'll fill the space too, just to help, because it's exactly that, right? We can think a lot. There's a lot of noise in here, but what you're ingesting is important. Are you talking about the same darn things 23 times with your girlfriends, but not actually doing anything, right? Like, are you trying to find a solution? Are you trying to gossip? You also have to take that accountability and ownership. But for overthinking, I just think I'm able to play with a problem 18 different ways. And so then I can be more open. I'm open to suggestions, open to, just criticism if that's what it is, right? So that's how I would close that.
I love all of this. I can't wait to hear your keynote. I think it's going to be amazing. And if somebody wants to connect with you on social, where do they find you?
Certainly. I am on Facebook, Rose Pridgeon. That's for my family, right? And hear me, where the fear is fun and I'm afraid of Instagram. I want to stay from the rooftops. I deleted it 2.5 years ago, but naturally in this day and age, I am working on that on my own. But I do have an Instagram. It's Rosie Speaks. I'm very excited about that. And then as a professional, I love LinkedIn. I just find with my love for leadership and trying to pull potential out of people, or rather reveal that to, those individuals, I have a lot that I share on leadership. And sometimes you also get me speaking a little more. So I'm an open book. I can be found in a lot of places and I'm very accessible. I love talking to people.
Awesome. Well, I will put all of your links in the show notes. So
thank you,
Rose Pridgeon. Thank you so much for your time today. This was wonderful. I know we said we were going to talk for like 20, 30 minutes and it's been almost 45. So, I'm sure we could go on for another hour, but
yes.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're doing a great work. You are so appreciated. So thank you.
Well,
I could go on forever and ever about moving you closer to your dreams, but I probably should save some thoughts for the next episode. A big thanks goes out to you for making time for me today. And making time for me, you're making time for future you, and we're both grateful. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the podcast, download the episodes, and leave me a 5-star review. I would really appreciate it. In return, if you go to my website, marriottsonthemove.com, and register for the Monday mailer, I'll send you a free Fred workbook to get your journey started. This is also where you can find all the show notes and all the ways to get in touch with me. A special thanks goes out to Rogue Media for its wisdom and partnership. Until next time, friends, keep moving forward towards your dreams. Oh, and the legal stuff. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I am a certified coach, not a licensed therapist, and this is not meant to replace the professional advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. This is solely my perspective based on my own experience and training. Okay, now it's over. For reals. Bye for now.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.